Now, an Islamic scholar, Sheikh Shaibu, has cautioned Muslim men not to misinterpret the Quran as basis to beat their wives. His advice comes after security analyst Ebad Ibrahim posted sections of the Quran on social media seemingly justifying why men can beat their wives. It follows a JoyNews story about Habiba, a woman who was assaulted by her husband Razak Toure until her face was covered with blood. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
He had a ring on. He just kept, not the wedding band sort of.
Habiba, whose swollen, bloodshot eyes and visible marks of assault enraged many who heard her story, told JoyNews last week her husband abused her verbally and physically.
I don't know at what point he punched under my eye, then blood gushed out and spilled onto the wall. Then blood was I was just bleeding from my nose onto the ground. Is it going to be the last blow?
Her husband, Razak Toure, later admitted to assaulting her and apologized.
It's the work of the devil. Even though people will say, why work of devil? It is we human beings who committed it. But I'm not beyond that to have committed something like this. I deeply regretted for what has happened. I myself have sent us messages of apologies, and I hope and pray, first of all, God will forgive me, and Habiba herself will also forgive me.
But she refused to continue living with abuse and reported the matter to the police. Her husband was subsequently arrested and arraigned. However, he was later freed by the court. In a video posted on Facebook and captioned, quote, Razak Toure is a free man, Razak's friend Ebad Ibrahim announced that the suspect has been freed. This was corroborated by Razak Toure himself.
So today we thank God, everything has come to an end. Habiba herself has made it foolish case. She has withdrawn the case in a way, and then it wasn't an intention thing that has happened.
But JoyNews is learning it is only the criminal aspect of the case that has been withdrawn from the court. In subsequent posts, Ebad Ibrahim sparked anger among some Ghanaians when he appeared to justify the act of spousal battery by citing Quran chapter 4, verse 34. Quote, men are in charge of women by what Allah has given one over the other and what they spend on the women from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient, guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. But those wives from whom you fear arrogance, first advise them, then if they persist, forsake them in bed, and finally strike them. But if they obey you, seek no means against them. Indeed, Allah is ever exalted and grand. But Islamic scholar Sheikh Shaibu has cautioned Muslim men from misinterpreting the Quran as basis to beat their wives.
If you take it literally, you make a lot of mistakes. The Prophet in his life, in his practice, he said that the best of you are those who are best to their families, and I am the best of you to my family. In other words, I am the best exemplar of how a husband or a father treats members of the household. So look at me as the model. And he, as a model, never struck his wives, never beat them, never caught scar on them. So it is wrong in the first place for Muslim men to base on this and to subject Muslim.
Well, let's get on the line now and speak to Sheikh Shaibu a little bit more on this matter. Sheikh, thank you very much for your time this afternoon here on The Pulse. I trust you're doing well. Now, I don't know, do you have an idea how far the story has gone? I mean, so far, do you know what went into the husband being set free from the police?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I have not followed it closely. I heard about it, that something like this has happened, and the issue was even brought to the chief imam's corridors. An attempt was being made, actually, to listen to the husband who actually made the appeal to the chief imam, exactly to find out what exactly he wants, what kind of support that he wants, and then also to listen to the woman. What is her response? What exactly does she want? But we were waiting for that, but we also noticed that the issue was already at court, and they were supposed to go to the court. I'm just learning just now that the court has ended the case. And so if it had ended the case, exactly, I have cautioned between man and wife, or husband and wife. When some of these things happen, one needs to be careful not to be quick to pass judgment or to give certain advice, because then when they sit together and they reconcile, then you, the one who had made some comment, become the third person. Okay. And so I'm sure that is what has happened, and that is what is playing out here. They have been together for a long time. They have 2 children, I'm told. Yeah, except that it's very bad. I am totally against subjecting women to cruel treatment. And it doesn't go with Islam, and I condemn it totally for any Muslim man to, based on this particular text, to subject women to cruel treatment, like the one we have seen. And I think we should condemn it completely, and to make sure that young men who are married, or elderly person, or any husband does not engage in that kind of practice.
So, from my understanding of what you just said, Sheikh, this gentleman who beat up the woman came to the chief imam, trying to get the chief imam to intervene. But even before that, the matter went to courts, and now he's a free man. I mean, we don't know how that is going to pan out going forward. But what exactly did he want the chief imam to do? To bring his wife back to him because the woman had decided not to live with him anymore?
No, he came to express his remorse. Probably out of rage or anger, he did what he did. And so now he's seeking that maybe his wife could pardon him, or the family could pardon him for what he has done.
Okay.
Which we do not have problem with that at all. But except that he needs to be cautioned that he doesn't do that to any other woman, not even his wife alone, but any other woman.
Right. Have you seen the video of him and Irbad Ibrahim?
In fact, as you speak to me, I watched the television and I saw Irbad and him, and both of them are people known to me. I know them very well.
And so on this video, he's saying something like, "I'm sure that Habiba has seen her foolishness and has withdrawn the case." What do you think Habiba's fate is in this story right now?
Now, I will be surprised and very disappointed if he says publicly that Habiba has realized, is it her shame or...
He said he used the word foolishness, and that's in the video that we just played.
I think that it is most regrettable for him to speak this way, and I think it's insulting to the dignity of his wife. I would have believed that he should have kept silent over the issue, since they are trying to settle it. For me, it shows complete disrespect and disregard for him to subject her to this indignity and the cruel treatment, which our religion does not encourage. I think, he's somebody I know, but for him to speak publicly like this, I think is most disrespectful to the very person of his wife's personhood. And I think we should not encourage it.
Well, I'm just getting the clarity that he actually said Habiba has seen the foolish case, that it's a foolish case, actually. So he did not say foolishness, but in this case, now that Habiba, the man is out of court, it's some sort of vindication. It's some sort of I'm trying to figure this out. I mean, do you get the feeling that this is a man who is remorseful of his action?
Well, I was not in the court, and I didn't know the basis on which, you send this issue to the court, and then you just go and say, I want to withdraw it, and the court can grant you that. Probably they want an out-of-court settlement through ADR. If that is what they want to do, I think that also is very good. But the case should not be treated as foolish case. What is the basis that the court treats such a matter in an era where we are very particular about the rights of women? And so I'm unable to decipher and understand why the court should treat this one as a foolish case. I'm unable to understand. And I will be very disappointed in our judicial system on such a matter. But I would have preferred that if the court says, okay, now go through ADR, go take it outside. And as a family, because it's a family matter and children are involved, we'll prefer that you go to settle it out and see how you can do it. But if the court declares it a foolish case, I'll be very disappointed in our court system.
Well, what we understand, I'm just getting clarity from our reporter who has been on the store. We understand that she withdrew the case, the criminal case.
So
she withdrew
that voluntarily.
So she withdrew. So Sheikh, she withdrew the criminal aspect of the case, but she's still pursuing the civil one. That's the understanding.
Well, and that's husband and wife for you, and that's why I keep on saying that as a husband, when you are dealing with your wife, be very, very careful, because you've stayed with these women. You have a certain space in their heart, and they cannot see you suffering to a certain level, and that's why you must also treat them similarly. It must be reciprocal, and so probably the woman has a certain soft spot for him in her heart, and people are speaking to her. These matters, they go beyond the two people. They also affect the largest tract of society and the two big families. So elders might come in and seek to say, okay, let's drop the criminal side of it and look at the civil. And whatever is her entitlement, then he says, who knows?
She gets
who knows? They are likely, husband and wife, they are likely to get back. I would not be surprised at all. if they get back, I will never be surprised.
Well, we'll be here to see when that happens. But in such a case, in Islamic circles, what will ordinarily happen with Habiba? I mean, she's free to walk away from the marriage if she wants. And what really will be her fate? Well,
she is the one who suffered it now. If she decides that she wants to walk away from the marriage, which most of the time we do not encourage, but given her experience, if she decides she wants to get out of the marriage, it is allowed. There is a way to do so. There is what we call hola, in which case the woman herself seeks to get out of the marriage. And Islamic law allows.
But I understand you have to provide a lot of evidence to be able to do that.
Yes, no, I mean, usually, because it's a family kind of thing, you don't just walk into marriage and just walk out of it.
Right.
And so if it were to be an Islamic country where we have the Islamic law court, then the Muslim law court magistrate will research into it and be able to justify. If she needs certain counseling, she will be counseled. Her demands will be looked into, and then the husband will be advised so that they go ahead in their marriage. But if the marriage is seen completely to be injurious to her, and that her continuous stay in the marriage can subject her to greater risk, then the magistrate will grant her the divorce.
Okay. Let's come to Ebad Ibrahim and what he posted on Facebook. This is clearly a quotation from the Holy Quran. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And you say that it doesn't necessarily interpret literally that you can beat up a woman. To what extent do people, especially Islamic men, understand that this provision in the Quran, the Holy Quran, does not necessarily say, feel free to beat up your woman?
I mean, Quranic texts are made in context, and they are made within certain cultural milieu also. So there are times when you take literally the text itself, you might use it as a basis of a certain ruling mistakenly. And that is why there have been various interpretations of that text. For example, it has to do with the men are protectors of women. That particular expression there connotes a certain responsibility. It connotes leadership. It connotes guidance. In fact, in that leadership, it doesn't connote suppression and domination. Now, because the man has been given a certain responsibility, he also has certain rights within the family network. So if you fear disobedience or misconduct, you say what you do first is admonish. Now, for you to admonish somebody, you yourself must be on the right path yourself. In fact, that offers you the moral grounds to be able to give whatever treatment. Then if that doesn't work, psychologically, use a psychological approach. Your wife loves you, so you withdraw from her. She's not comfortable. Maybe probably she will come back. Then if that doesn't work, it says then you can beat them. But here, the best person who interprets this is the Prophet himself. So then we say if we are having difficulty with the application here, we look at the Prophet himself, who is the best exemplar of the family life. He has never beaten his wife, and he has spoken to us that never hit the face of a woman, never curse the woman. This one is a clearly stated tradition of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Is that also in the Quran?
A certain contradiction here. Now, how do you control when you are enraged? You're going to hit the woman and say, don't strike her in her face or don't create a scar on her. It means that there's a certain complete disapproval of the act. So I think that when we are interpreting, we should bring the Quran and the practice of the Prophet and put them together. Okay. That is what gives us a clear interpretation. So it is not a license for men to subject their women to cruelty.
So when someone,
we should not encourage it.
So when an Islamic figure, or let's say a person who follows the Islamic faith and is well known, like Ebad Ibrahim, puts something like that on his social media platform, will the office of the chief imam, for example, call him to order? Is that something that can happen?
Well, you know, we in the modern day of what they call it, the social media, and everybody sits in his own corner, and then he can give his ruling. He has a lot of following. People are listening to him all over the place, and I mean, he also wants to be heard, so he can decide to write some of these things. But I think the duty we have is to be able to state the correct position, that Islam does not encourage men beating their women to the extent that we have seen, I mean, for blood to ooze from the face of the woman. It's contrary to the Islamic practice, because the Prophet has made a clear statement that never hit the face of a woman, never leave a scar on her, never pronounce curses on her. These are part of the Prophet's statement, and I think we should caution. What we can do is to caution such young scholars who are coming by. We cannot stop them. They are very technologically savvy. If you stop him today, he will sit in his room. He will also release some of those things, he and others of his cohort. And I think that he's a young man who is coming up. We encourage him very well. He's coming up. We don't want to stop him from also expressing knowledge. But I think he needs to be cautioned, especially on such matters. We don't want people like him to justify domestic violence where women, men subject women to this kind of cruel. I see this one as cruelty, actually.
Actually, a criminal. It's a criminal act.
Yeah, I mean, he's somebody that I know. So I had my own disappointment. But he's my younger brother. If he sits in front of me, I'll say the same thing to him. That please never, because I have sisters, I have a mother, I have a young daughter who is now at the university, and I see in any woman subjected to such treatment, I see the person of my own mother, I see the person of my own daughter, I see the person of my own sisters, and I would never want that anyone subject them to this kind of treatment. And I think the principle of love thy neighbor as thyself, and the principle of let's keep safe everybody within the society. And I think is the best. Non-violence is the best approach to things. And I think violence is bad, whether Muslim does it, whether it's subjected to perpetrated by a woman, or whether a woman is a victim. And so violence is bad. And I think we should reject it, we should condemn it, we should. I mean, it goes far into the social fabric. That's why now all this violence in politics, it's issues from the family. The family is so disintegrated, and young children are seeing how fathers are beating up wives, and they are carrying this kind of violence outside into the society. And I think it doesn't stop at the family level at all. I'm so worried it doesn't stop at the family level. It goes from the family and it shoots into society, and violence is becoming our nature. And so, as a Muslim who is more inclined to peace in the family, I also have a family, and I treat my children with all love, and I will never support any man beating my daughter the way I have seen on this woman. And these are young men who are Muslims. We encourage them to stop it, never to engage in it.
Very well. Thank you very much, Sheikh. And I'm sure that the Office of the Chief Imam has noted this and will certainly bring them to order. Thank you for this explanation. Sheikh Armiya Shaibu is an Islamic scholar. They're helping us to understand, the part of the Quran, the Holy Quran that Ebad Ibrahim had posted on social media. He says it does not mean, and there is no justification for beating a woman the way the husband of Habiba did.